Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and my schedule has been all messed up the last 2 days because I've been doing the carpool thing. I've got a situation where my car was I had to put my car in the shop for a day, and it really just messed up my whole flow. And so I'm hoping that we can do something about that starting today. I think I'm going to finally get my car back today, and it'll be cool. Okay. Ripple let me tell you what, folks. The last few days, Ripple has been a Twitter storm and all kinds of different pieces of news coming out. And a lot of things are making a lot of sense now. It's almost like someone has opened the floodgates, folks. Well, this is one of the things that Ripple sent out. They tweeted this out. What makes XRP a preferred base currency for arbitrage trading? Speed, low transaction costs, scalability, learn more. And here's their article. Digital assets. Now, this is written by Brianna Madigan, okay? Digital assets are often referred to as, here goes that narrative again, folks. Remember Brad Garlinghouse in his Zoom call to his employees, digital gold. Now, all of a sudden, the whole narrative is that digital assets, digital gold, safe haven assets. So now Brianna Madigan says digital assets are often referred to as safe haven assets, assets that market participants turn to during turmoil in financial markets. Today, this label is being tested as COVID-19 impacts global financial markets. Amidst the sudden market collapse on March 12, 2020, what many are calling Black Thursday, daily transaction fees skyrocketed to 5 times the normal amount on Ethereum and Bitcoin's network, delaying settlements and increasing the price of exchange for currencies between exchanges. Now, folks, I want to point out to you that this article was not put out yesterday. This article was put out on May 28th. But Ripple saw the need to tweet this out. This is another thing that they retweeted out to get back out in front of everybody so that you can see the way that they're thinking. And it's almost like, let me tell you what it's almost like. It is almost as if Ripple is ready to, it's almost like they're ready and they've been holding back to let the floodgates go. That's what this feels like to me. And it's coming from all directions. And I'll go back to talking about Chris Giancarlo in a minute from the digital dollar, because I cannot leave that alone. That is a big, huge freaking elephant in the room. These people, listen, for how many years now? Oh, XRP could be a security. We've been dealing with all this talk. Any one of these government officials, a Chris Giancarlo, this guy could have said that at any time. He could have come out and weighed in and said, here's why XRP is not a security. He could have done that 2 years ago, and he did not. It's like everybody feels like it's time, okay? And amidst the current economic turmoil, it's almost like they were waiting for the next financial crisis to lower the boom. That's what this feels like. And if you remember, this is also Brianna Madigan from just a few months ago. And another important thing, when they released this Ripple drop, within a day, they took out the section I'm about to play for you in what they re-released. They took out this part where she says this.
Resilience, and that is getting at the ability for a market to recover from a significant systemic event. So if there was some sort of a market shock, the ability for order books to get back to normality and tighten back to similar prices to where they were prior to that event relatively quickly. And so all of those attributes are very important to a healthy liquid market.
How does deeper liquidity impact services like on-demand liquidity or ODL?
That's a great question. So as you think about the value that we're providing sending flow from the US to Mexico, because we're able to use XRP as the bridge currency between the US and Mexico and do basically instantaneous transactions, we are significantly reducing the cost base sending that money cross-border.
Okay, I'm not going to play any more of that. I just wanted you to see more than anything where she was talking about systemic risk. Because let me tell you what, this is not some coincidence that all of a sudden you're seeing this narrative. All right, let's move along now. Now, I wanted to remind everyone, I'm going to refresh this. I want to remind everybody of something. It was not more than a week and a half ago. Remember when Ashish Burla wrote the article for Ripple and they were talking about a change of their strategy and everything? And everybody freaked out. Yeah, the end of the world's here. Ripple, oh, they didn't accomplish their mission, da, 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 da. And to those people that thought that way or think that way, I say to you, you don't truly understand what you own and what you're a part of. This is not just some startup company. This is Ripple. This is someone who is putting a dent in the universe. People like this do not have little short-term plans and, oh, that didn't work out. Okay, I guess it didn't work out. No, these people have planned every single thing in this whole deal. This didn't just happen. I mean, come on, I've been around. Well, anyway, I tweeted this out just a week or two ago. Everyone thought the world was coming to an end with Ripple's change of strategy, and now we have PayID. So they come out yesterday with PayID. And I said, all the world's a stage, because when I think of this entire industry, and or not the entire industry, but when I think of Ripple and some of what's going on here, that's what I always go back to, is all the world's a stage, because everything's connected. And I'm going to show you more of that today. All right, here we go. But first, Brian Melancholy had sent me this from XRP Crypto Wolf. Thailand's central bank said it will prototype a new payment system for business based on the digital currency system it is developing called Project Inthanon. I guess that's how you say that. The prototype was built on R3's Corda. It will begin in July and conclude by the end of 2020. And this guy had retweeted this back in December of 2019. Please note, the digital tokens by Thailand and Hong Kong are built on the R3 platform. Project Lion Rock and Inthanon and major banks, SCB, Standard Chartered, HSBC, MUFG, just about everybody on this picture are Ripple partners in some way or another, are already the partners of Ripple. So he points it out right there. Okay, let me get rid of a couple of things here. All right, let's go to this first. XRP Crypto Wolf, Binance added multiple GBP trading pairs, XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, GBP, BUSD. So all these trading pairs, they're being added more and more and more. This is all adoption, folks. Okay, back to Ripple's tweet storm. David Schwartz. Now, let me tell you what, when they announced PayID yesterday, there were tweets coming from everywhere. Every company, you name it, they were tweeting it. I saw Crypto.com tweet, Global ID tweet. I think I may have Global ID in here somewhere. But anyway, David Schwartz and other people at Ripple were expounding on the thing. Here, David Schwartz says, the future of payments has never been walled gardens. PayID is breaking down walls bit by bit, starting with these 40 players onward. And then we have this. David Schwartz said, PayID can do so many things. A thread. PayID provides a human-readable payment addresses for cryptocurrency payment systems. PayID provides a single destination address for multiple cryptocurrency and fiat payment systems. PayID gives cryptocurrency companies a way to meet regulatory requirements such as the travel rule. PayID can provide cryptographic proof that payment was delivered to the correct destination. Then he did a poll here, which I'm not worried about that. And that's that thread. But then here's another from Rydergeist. Sent me this from Danny Aranda. Hello, PayID, an open standard payment addressing. I'm not going to read all of this, but I wanted to read a couple of them. PayID was inspired by Interledger, a protocol that defines how to packetize value so that it can be sent across any network, similar to how IP packetizes data. The goal is interoperability across rails. PayID decomposes this and focuses narrowly on problem space of addressing. This is the interesting part. The state of payment addressing today is pre-internet. You can get a Venmo username, a cash tag a crypto address, an ACH account, a routing number, but they don't mean anything to each other. A lot of intranets, but no internetworking. PayID solves this by using a simple web stack built on HTTP and DNS. It's not tied to any specific network or currency, crypto or fiat. Any wallet, bank, or app can run a PayID server, issue PayIDs to users, and enable those users to send across networks. So how cool is this, folks? So anyway, what I think about is, do you remember? Here's what I'm thinking about when I see this, because I'm thinking about it as a non-tech guy. I'm thinking about when I was at Auburn University. That's when I first heard of email addresses. They were telling us at Auburn. They said, well, you've got your own email address, and we didn't even understand what it was. And we said, why would we need an email address? And it was this weird thing. It was like you could have this at auburn.edu or whatever. And I was like, what is that? Why do I need that? What's that for? And then we had, and so you've got, and then Twitter's another example. I remember when I first heard about Twitter, and I would hear about all these things like hashtag this and at this. I didn't know what all that was. Well, I've been on Twitter for over 2 years now, and now I know exactly what it is and what it's for. When all this first comes about, everybody's like, what? But by the time, listen close, folks. By the time, and I said this a long time ago, is that when I discovered cryptocurrencies such as XRP and all this, and to this day, we're all sending, it's been a very confusing mess. You got this long serial number, and so if I want you to send me XRP, I've got to give you this long serial number, and then I got to give you this tag number, and you've got to send it to that. And if you don't put the tag in right, it'll get lost or whatever. Well, when average Joe comes into this space, it's going to be what PayID is doing here. They're going to be giving you something that's simple. Everybody has an ID, some sort of thing that identifies you. Then you'll be able to send any cryptocurrency to that address. At that point, we have real adoption. But guess what? For you and me, those of us that have been invested in XRP before all this happens, guess what happens, folks? You know what happens. You know exactly what happens. All right, Captain Fredrickson. Okay, he sent me this. This is an interview that Brad Garlinghouse did yesterday, I believe, on CNBC. Listen up, folks. It's like a switch has been flipped to put everything that's been planned into motion. Watch this.
CNBC is out with our Disruptor 50, a list of 50 companies shaking up their industry and reforming the way they operate. Number 28 on this year's list is no stranger to our Fast Money crypto audience. Ripple making its debut on the Disruptor 50 list. CEO Brad Garlinghouse joins us now. Brad, great to see you again. Welcome back to Fast Money.
Thank you for having me. It's great to see you again, despite the weird times.
Yeah, very strange times indeed. On this day that you debut on the Disruptor 50 list, you're also making an announcement yourself in terms of your backing of PayID. Can you explain what this is and why this sort of simplifies how crypto had transferred money in the past?
Absolutely. So at its core, Ripple has been all about enabling what we call an internet of value. Let's make all of these different networks that really don't talk to each other interoperable. We've all had the experience where, when you ask a friend, you say, hey, I need to pay you money. Are you on Venmo? Are you on PayPal? Or outside the United States, maybe Alipay or PayU. Isn't it funny? When I ask somebody for a phone number, I don't say, are you on AT&T? Are you on Verizon? I just get their phone number. The idea behind PayID is to simplify the ability to send someone money the same way, to make it easy as sending an email. I don't ask someone, are you on Google or Yahoo? I just send an email. And so PayID enables, whether you're a large bank or I'll use a very successful regional bank in Chicago called Byline Bank. If you're an account holder there and I want to send you money, it should be as easy as typing Brad $Garlinghouse. And whether it's resolving to a Byline Bank or to Bitcoin, all of this naming infrastructure can be much simplified and interoperable.
I want to try and understand more what and who this disrupts. So who do you see as the main user of this sort of technology? Is it consumer-to-consumer money transfer, or ultimately could it be a company paying another company for, buying a unit of theirs, for instance, or inventory? Or, how big could this be?
Well, so let me start by saying something about the word disruption in that sentence. I actually don't look at this. We're thrilled and honored to be on the disruptor list. I think disruptor, particularly in Silicon Valley, can be a word that's kind of overused. That, you know, it worked for Uber, it worked for some, but I think to some degree, it's not about move fast and break stuff. It's about building. It's about partnering and enabling. So when I think about what PayID is doing, and really when I think about what Ripple's doing overall, how do we partner with the industry and make it more efficient? How to make it better for consumers? How to make it better for small businesses? What we're seeing with PayID is not that it's going to disrupt a bank or disrupt a payment provider. It's going to make them more efficient. It's going to reduce friction. It's going to make it easier for consumers, for small businesses. And if we can reduce the friction of payments, we actually can unlock a lot of things we don't really think about. Micropayments. I mean, there's a whole bunch of kind of almost science fiction, Blade Runner kind of examples that if the friction of a payment can go to zero, it's going to make all of our lives a lot simpler, a lot better. It's going to bring people into the financial community that are either underbanked or unbanked.
All right. Brad, we're going to leave it there, but it's always great to speak with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Brad Garlinghouse. You can find the full Disruptor 50 list at CNBC.
So anyway, so Ripple is coming out with PayID, and voila, they show up on the CNBC disruptor list. It's funny how that works. Okay, let's move along. Now, this is from XRP Crypto. Well, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said, "I do think a digital dollar is something that the central banks have to design. A group of central banks have gotten together to discuss better understand the concept and the implications on financial inclusion." Okay, well, he brings up the digital dollar, so let's go back. Now remember, 2 or 3 days ago, we found out that Chris Giancarlo, he puts out a Forbes article basically, or Forbes puts out an article based on something he wrote, where he is saying he doesn't think XRP is a security, and here's why. And then he also reveals that he is with a law firm, so he's ultimately one of the counselor for Ripple. Okay. Well, I've told you 1,000 times that it's all connected, folks. I've shown you this many times. This is Chris Giancarlo. This is his brother, Charles Giancarlo. And I've gone over before how Accenture is one of the first Ripple investors, and they're one of the backers of the digital dollar project. And then I've shown you how, remember, Silver Lake Partners is where his brother was. And I've shown you where Brad Garlinghouse used to be an advisor to Silver Lake. And I've shown you that Glenn Hutchins is on the board at the Digital Currency Group, which is also one of the investors in Ripple. So let's go down here underneath Chris Giancarlo. He is, what does it say? He serves on the advisory board of the Chamber of Digital Commerce. And I've talked to you about the Chamber of Digital Commerce and how everything's connected, right? Well, Chamber of Digital Commerce, here's the board of advisors. And I just picked one out today, okay? I'll mention one other. This guy is also, James Robinson is also an investor in Ripple. This guy, Don Tapscott's the one that I'm going to zero in on. CEO of the Tapscott Group, Senior Advisor, World Economic Forum. All right, just a little reminder, the World Economic Forum, through their Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, put out a paper in which they designated JP Morgan coin and XRP as interbank and intrabank currencies, right? So this guy, so when you're looking at this Chamber of Digital Commerce, and I showed you some tie-ins yesterday, I just thought it'd be interesting to just take one guy from this, okay? We know this guy is an investor in Ripple. This guy, well, who is he? He's a senior advisor to the World Economic Forum. So I looked at his LinkedIn. He's also the co-founder and executive chairman of Blockchain Research Institute. So I went and looked up Blockchain Research Institute. Go down here and look at the members of this. Whoop, there's Accenture. And then who else do you have that we might recognize? You got Bank of Canada. You've got, he's a Canadian, by the way, Chamber of Digital Commerce, Deloitte, Coca-Cola, DTCC, the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, ExxonMobil, FedEx, Delta, Fujitsu, Huobi, which is that major exchange out of, I think, China. Look, there's Hyperledger. There's IBM. who's partnered with Stellar. Who else do we have on this? Oh, there's NASDAQ. They're a part of his little group. PNC Bank, the first bank to go on to RippleNet, right there. Anybody else? There's Tencent. I'm sure you've recognized a few names here. Well, let's go and look at I went and found a video of Don Tapscott. Watch this.
The Blockchain Research Institute. Okay, 2 more points. How do we steward this resource to go forward? And what's the state of the world on that? Well, the way that we think of governing global resources is by state-based institutions, right? They came out of Bretton Woods after the Second World War, and we created the IMF and the World Bank. And then a year later, the UN, a year later, the GATT and the WTO, and the G8 and the G20 global institutions based on nation states. Increasingly, though, since Bretton Woods, there are new models of governing global resources that involve the private sector, along with governments, the civil society, and individuals. And we, a couple of years ago, finished a $4 million research project on this that identified these various types of networks that are multi-stakeholder. They have all these different groups. They're not controlled by governments or states. They're self-organizing. And they're a bottom-up self-organizing phenomenon. By that definition, there are tens of millions of people right now at 1:30 in the afternoon that are involved in this activity. So the first era of the internet, and if Tim were here, he'd agree, is governed by these multi-stakeholder networks. You have the standards networks like the W3C Consortium or the Internet Engineering Task Force. Knowledge networks like the Internet Society. Delivery networks like ICANN. They just do stuff. They deliver domain names. Policy networks like the Internet Governance Forum. Advocacy networks like the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Watchdog networks that are scrutinizing what's going on in the Internet, corruption, and so on. Network institutions like the World Economic Forum that are very complicated, but they're involved in governance. When it comes to blockchain, we're very early in the development of these robust type networks. And it's also more complicated. Now I don't have time to do this, so I'm just gonna tell you, if you Google my name and the World Economic Forum and the word blockchain, you'll come up with a report that we wrote for the WEF about how to move forward with the stewardship of blockchain.
Okay, so I did Google that. But first, before I go to show you his paper that he wrote for the World Economic Forum about how we go forward with blockchain, I wanted to show you where he was speaking when he did this. That would be at Swell in 2017, I believe. That's where he was speaking. It's all connected, folks. All right, so here's the paper he wrote for World Economic Forum in June of 2017. And let's just do a little Ripple search here. See how many times Ripple is mentioned. Ripple is mentioned 7 times in this. First, in our research, we found ourselves exploring 3 levels of blockchain that warranted stewardship. The first is the platform level, the protocols of blockchain such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, or Hyperledger. Let's find Ripple again. The third is the overall ecosystem, the ledger of ledgers, connecting or not Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hyperledger, Ripple, Tendermint, and other platforms. And then there's this, and it just shows that Ripple's third on the list. And then there's this. Litecoin is a popular altcoin with a block time of 2.5 minutes, and Ripple and Ethereum are entirely re-engineered blockchain platforms that have latency of seconds, not minutes. For example, Ripple's Global Payment Steering Group, a blockchain bankers network with defined rules and governance, as seen as has been a major step forward in the terms of adoption and industry acceptance. All right, this is delivery networks. Keep incentives for mass collaboration in mind. This is a quote from Chris Larson. in his report. Just as you can't have fire without fuel, oxygen and heat, you can't have effective globalization without interoperability in goods, data, and money, said Chris Larson, Chief Executive Chairman of Ripple's Board of Directors and former CEO and co-founder of Ripple. The Internet of Value is about creating a world where money can be sent as easily as information using simple open protocols like Interledger Protocol. We can connect all the places where value lives, ledgers, blockchains, and payment networks. They all have to work together to make this a reality. And the last mention was right there. Okay, so, and then I wanted to show you this. This is from XRP Yo-Yo, and then I'm going to show you one other thing from him. But this is from, against the backdrop of everything we're seeing, listen to this.
20% increase in Q4 and a 5% increase in Q1 2021. We will be back to where we were in 2019. We will have made up for the lost ground.
Amazing.
It's not going to take 5 years. We will have made it up with some decent numbers by the first quarter of 2021.
That's called the Super V, right?
Super V. I like the eyes.
It's called the V. It's called the V plus. Well, that's where we're headed. But we were headed to great things, and then we got hit by the cheese plague. So that happens too, and things happen that you don't expect sometimes. So, but we built it once. We're now building it again. And it's going to be even more successful, in my opinion.
Okay, so this, and then Yo-Yo also put this out from the other day. I've talked to you a lot about all of the money before, but this is one where Ethan Beard says it too.
Build on technologies like XRP and blockchain. And then money. We all like money. When we think about, at Spring, when we think about money, we don't just think about XRP or we don't just think about cryptocurrency. We think about all the money. In fact, we had a hackathon yesterday.
They think about all the money. And here's who else thinks about all the money. But before I show you, XRP Yo-Yo has started his own YouTube channel. He's been providing a lot of good content. And so go and give him a subscribe. I'm sure he's going to put out some interesting things like this.
People have heard me say this before, but I'll throw it out to the audience. What is Interledger's total addressable market size? All the money. Nobody wanted to feed it. Yeah, it's all the money, because what we're really talking about with this idea of the Internet of Value is creating a single global payment network that connects literally everyone and processes maybe not 100%, but 90+% of all the money.
90+% of all the money. I'm a digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family all the money.